Hey, Coach, how's it
Recording
going
in
today?
progress.
You're on mute, Coach.
Trying to get set up here. Sorry about that, bro.
No problem, man. No worries. So, Coach, taking me back to Saturday, Riley Wimpey misses the first half, but he comes in, immediately makes a tackle, gets that huge forced fumble late. I mean, just what does that say about his impact on this team?
Yeah, we had a discussion this morning just about with him and what it was like when he was in there. Not only when he was in there in the second half, but Ron, what he was doing in the first half and communicating and helping make some adjustments on the sideline. That's the type of person he is. And then when he got his opportunity to jump in the game, he was obviously a huge difference in terms of handling the run game and leading on the field and making sure that we were squared away. That's what a senior leader does. A guy like him, especially, and not only to lead, but to make numerous plays that, that we weren't making in the first half. And now a lot of that too had to do with the adjustments we made with the D-line and how we were playing things and get back to how we should handle things up front. So overall, Riley makes plays because the D-line does their job, and Riley makes plays because he's Riley too.
For sure. So obviously you guys are coming off that disappointing loss, but you still have your conference schedule ahead of you. What's your message to the guys this week about how important it is to respond and to get off to a good start to conference play?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, as much as there are no moral victories and there's nothing, it's all about what did we learn and how do we move forward? How do we apply that to our process? We understand what the standard is here, and we are about meeting that standard each and every day. And that's where the consistency has to come into play. We've obviously, shown flashes of what we're capable of becoming. We just need to be way more consistent. And what does that look like? Well, that looks like the day-to-day, how we show up here, with the intent to handle the work days we have to prepare ourselves, and how we practice and finish all the way through, a heavy Tuesday and Wednesday practice all the way through the course of the practice. Last week, the defense did a really good job, on our 2 heavy work days and had fun finishing all the way through. And you know what? We needed them in this game last week to finish that way. And they did. And so we just got to build a consistency, and it starts with us as coaches, how we lead, how we model that. And so we're excited to do that this week. And the beautiful thing is our goal is always about the conference, and that's what's right in front of us now. So it's time to lock in on that.
Thank you, Coach.
How's it going, Andy?
Good. How are you, BJ?
Doing pretty good. The issues in the running game, both offensively and defensively, have kind of been, well documented when you look at the stats and stuff. What's more of a concern or more of a causing you more frustration right now? The inability to stop the run or the inability to run the football?
Both probably equally, but it's football, and it's where we're developing. And it's not a matter of, getting frustrated. It's a matter of applying attention and urgency to who we are and where we can grow. And I think that's the best part. And we saw that today too in our practice. We've seen it a couple different weeks here, in terms of, we had an opportunity to self-scout ourselves on offense after the previous game, the second game, with it being a Friday game, and having an extra day and really finding out for our personnel, what do we do well? And we actually did some things well there in the first half in the run game. The yards don't always show it. Some of that's an RPO gets thrown, but there were some things done up front where we were handling ourselves a lot better. We had a few run plays that in terms of schemes where we averaged 6 yards a carry. And the consistency of which we build off of that now is going to be important. And on the defensive side, it's actually just really simplifying, BJ, simplifying what we're talking about in meetings, what we're working in individual, how that pertains to the group periods and then into the team periods, and being able to create some habits. So when we cut it loose on game night, those are our habits, and we don't revert back to other things. And so it's not a matter of frustration that, to be honest with you, is it's not the standard. That, I know that, but you know what, having the answers and understanding and knowing what we need to do to move forward is very encouraging.
You mentioned after the game, touching on just needing to find a way to finish better. You look at the points, scored, I guess, is simple enough. 85 in the first half of these games, only 22 in the second half. Defensively, the numbers have gotten better, defensively in the second half. What have you seen in second half from the offense, and how important is that as you move into conference play where there's going to be more tight games and stuff, where the second half performance offensively doesn't drop off?
Yeah, no question. That starts with us, how we're leading, how we're adjusting behind the scenes, how we're analyzing in game. And we've had some great conversations as coaches. We feel good about our plan moving forward. We actually had some great conversations today after practice with the players, and they're excited about it too. And so, we've got to be able to, this is a game of adjustments, and we have to be in time as fast as possible, as clear and concise as possible. And so we've evaluated ourselves again. It starts with us as coaches, and we look forward to making those improvements.
Thank you, Andy.
How's it going, Andy?
What's going on, Jay?
Andy, this might be kind of a weird question, just because whether you be a player or a coach, everywhere you've won a lot of games at a pretty high rate. So who has kind of maybe taught you about how to responding after a loss? And what do you think is like the key to responding after a defeat?
I think the most important thing, regardless of the result, is to really always be, open-minded to the truth of what happened in the game. We've played well at times, so I've been a part of a lot of victories that we didn't play very well. So although we do get judged on the results, and there's certain standards that need to be met in terms of the results, you've got to be able to be true to yourself and the evaluation on what's really on the film. What do you see? And it's not always just about the film. We just talked about the operation and how we're as a staff operating, and how that information is getting relayed to the players and things like that. So, Jay, I've lost enough games in my life to know that it's not a feeling that I like or anybody likes, obviously, and most importantly for our players. And it's our responsibility as coaches to provide them the confidence through having answers and solutions, so that we can move forward and grow into what we're capable of becoming, because we've shown it. We're just not consistent with it right now.
Mm-hmm. I know that you just kind of hit on the ground game in terms of the offensive side of the ball. Where do you want to see that go? Because, typically Boise State has had, it's been one of the best rushing attacks in America, if you look at it, especially when it comes to individual performances. 11 straight years with 1,000-yard back, and through 3 games, your top rusher has 61 yards. And so how do you get it going? And in this RPO offense, what is it capable of? Do you need to get it going to get the rest of the offense going?
It always starts with a ground game and being able to open up. The other night, we had some condensed formations where the defense started putting a lot of bodies in the box, and those coaches made it very aware that they were going to. So we have to be able to adjust and be able to work off what the defense has given us. But it always starts with establishing the run game. That's football. Who wins the line of scrimmage, and whether that's in the run game or who's pressuring the quarterback, who's getting more hits on the quarterback. So that's obviously a huge emphasis. Being able to get consistency within the O-line personnel. We're excited about that, and get a rotation working together, and their communication, their operation together. And again, really being through 3 games into it now and finding out what are the things that we actually do best in the run game. What are the things that we can grow on and build on that suit our personnel.
Thank you, Andy.
Let's go, Bob, ball game, and Will.
Next.
Might have lost Bob, so let's go to ball game and then Will.
Coach, playing at 10 a.m., what's the most challenging aspect there?
You know what, John? We wake up every morning, practice at 9 a.m. So we're a morning operation. This is where it comes into play. It is going to be a little bit earlier of a wake up, needing to eat pregame meal 4 hours before the kick and all that stuff. It's going to be making sure, to be honest with you, the few days before that we get the appropriate rest that we need and getting to bed at night, getting the preparation we need and taking care of our bodies. And so that when we do, when our 2 feet hit the ground on that Saturday morning, we're ready to roll. And again, it's going to be pretty close to what we normally do, on a Tuesday, Wednesday practice. And so it starts with the course of the week and our preparation and how we get our rest.
How much does Frank Maile help in this situation? I get it. It's a new staff. They have a lot of transfers, but he's pretty close with his personnel. Is that a huge resource this week or not a very big deal?
Yeah, he knows the personnel. Then that's a fair question. You got it. It's a whole new staff, new schemes, all that stuff. So but understanding and knowing the personnel, is and having a clear understanding of who they are. I mean, that helps. But the schemes are totally different. The offense is running with tempo like they have in the past with former coaches. But it's new schemes all the way around.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Hey, Andy, you look at Utah State's offense. What stands out to you?
They go fast and they've ran the ball effectively, and they use multiple schemes within their run game. They will adjust. We will have to adjust throughout the game. They will analyze and evaluate the fronts as they move through their series and be able to adjust on the certain run schemes they're using. They are going to use all 53 yards of the field and the width and expand their splits with their outside wide receivers to pull guys out of the box in terms of the run fit players and overhang players and things like that. And so we've got to do a great job understanding our spacing on the field, playing with great eye control and playing with great leverage within the run game.
Tompkins, their wide receiver, leads the country in receiving yards. What stands out about him?
Well, I mean, they're explosive on the perimeter as well. And again, just based off of what we were just talking about, there's a lot of space out there. So we're going to have to be diligent with our coverage techniques and making sure that we're handling those. And, whether they're longer, deeper balls or underneath routes, we've got to do an unbelievable job with the finish, whether that's in coverage or the finish, in pursuit and tackling, because there's going to be a lot of open field tackles.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. Let's go to Mike Prater.
Andy, let's talk about, I know you've touched on a couple of different subjects about the run game, the offensive side of it and the defensive side of it. The angle I'd like to look at is the physicality. And I don't know if it's there or not. I'm anxious to hear what you have to say in terms of the physicalness of your offensive line and the physicalness of your defensive line, your front seven. You've given up a lot of yards to these power backs, the kid from the Central Florida kid, and then the kid obviously on Saturday night. So the physicality on both sides, is it up to par? Is it up to what you want to see?
It's not where it needs to be, Mike. You know that. I mean, you're running the ball for more yards. Is it there at times? Yeah, but we got to be more consistent with it. And our guys are working to do so. That starts with our fundamentals and our discipline. To be able to execute those consistently and build the confidence. Where does the mentality come from? It comes from having the confidence and the tools. And that's on us as coaches. And that's not on the players. That's on us to make sure that we get that squared away and we instill that and create that mentality within the fronts. Again, too, being able to have a consistent lineup in order to do so, I think, in fairness to the coaches, is something that we're looking forward to working with here through the next couple of weeks. So that is on us as coaches, Mike, and we take great pride in that. But you know what that is.
You've talked a lot about winning the last 8 minutes of the first half and winning the first 8 minutes of the second half. That's not happening. Is this one of the adjustments, one of the consistency issues? Where does that fall in line with your level of concerns?
Yeah, there's no question. How we finish the first half and going into halftime, we've started fast. And now we've got to be able to do that. And really where that starts is in practice and having an understanding of certain periods and how we're repping those certain periods and the urgency. We have breaks in practice to simulate the halftime, to simulate, having to sit on the bench. We have breaks in practice where we lower the high speed running and the tempo of the drill so that the guys got to restart themselves, much like a halftime. And we as coaches got to do a better job leading that and modeling that and what that looks like and keeping the urgency high in practice. And if we can do it in practice, we can do it in the game and more importantly, understanding the situations and how critical they are. We've on the defensive side of the ball, we lost a 2-minute drill. We've won 2-minute drills. We've learned, we've grown. We've scored on offense in the second game there, but we've also turned the ball over. So again, it comes back to doing things consistently and having an understanding how we are going to attack in those situations, not only attack, but also defensively what we need to take away.
Andy, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Paul J., anything for Andy?
Coach, they rush for a ton. Their offense has, averaging over 560 yards a game. What kind of problems do they give you defensively? They're pretty balanced between the run and the pass, but they gain a lot of yards both ways.
Well, they use the width of the field offensively. I mean, you guys will see, if you haven't seen yet, you're going to see these splits. You're going to see wide receivers dang near standing on the sideline. Okay. What comes with that too is the quarterback run game. So they're pulling numbers out of the box and they're adding a number in with the quarterback run game. And so we've, on top of being diligent with our fundamentals and our mentality that goes along with those, we've got to be extremely diligent with how we're leveraging formations and how we're getting the appropriate amount of numbers into the run fit.
Your offense has struggled in the third quarter. Have you found out reasons for that? Well, what happens there? That's
been a hot topic of discussion here yesterday and this morning, and we've had a lot of great conversations. The bottom line is it hasn't been the standard for what we're capable of. We've seen, early on in the games what we're capable of and how we start the first half. We've had a lot of conversations about how we start the second half that way, and we'll make some adjustments, both in how we're structuring and organizing and in-game tactics, and we'll practice those things. And we've got to make a huge jump there, Paul J. The production in the third quarter is not where it needs to be, and we're capable of doing more. And again, that starts with us as coaches and how we are clearly defining the adjustments that the defenses that we are playing, what they are doing, not only on first and second down, but in the third downs as well. And so that we can capitalize on third down situations. Our third down percentage in terms of converting those on offense has been pretty good in the first half, and in particular in the first quarter. And so in the third quarter, it has not been anywhere near where it needs to be. And again, that starts with us, and we can do a much better job of analyzing in game and making sure that our guys understand what the defense has given us, and as well as putting ourselves in good situations play call wise.
Thanks, Coach.
Tom, did you have anything for Andy?
Yes, I do, Andy. You talked in spring football, going into spring football, about developing dependable depth throughout the roster. How close do you feel you are to that on the offensive and defensive lines?
That's where we're the lightest. I mean, that is what it is, and we will continue to develop our young guys. We have some young guys coming along behind the scenes, but that is where we are the lightest. So, again, we are excited about the direction and what we're doing behind the scenes, but it is going to take, a few weeks for guys to be ready to jump in and get some game time reps.
And then you played in the Breakfast with the Broncos game at San Jose State in 2004. And Johnny asked about that earlier, but what can you share about that experience with the players, since you have been through it as a player yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago. I think, again, part of the deal is back then we didn't practice in the morning. We practiced in the afternoon. We showed up here at 1:30. We started meetings. We were on the field at, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, 5:15, whatever that was. We don't do that anymore. We operate year round in the morning, and much to the guys' delight, we're here at 6:30 in the morning every morning. I know it's going to be a little bit earlier on Saturday, but Tom, I mean, it is going to be a big challenge. This is a great team that we've got to be ready to go to play against in their home stadium at 10 a.m. on the road. And, it was a little bit different way back then. Not only that was a battle down in San Jose. I broke my hand in that game. My buddy next to me got kicked out of the game, the linebacker playing next to me. So there's not a lot of great memories from that game, besides that we found a way to win. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Thank you.
BJ, you said you had one follow-up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned, just how important it is, and your main goal being to win the Mountain West, obviously. And divisional play, obviously, when you want to win the division, games within your division are obviously very key. You guys have won 19 straight divisional games. I know you weren't here the last 2 years, but I mean, to win divisional games, particularly road divisional games, how important are those games? I know every league game is important, but just the importance guess, on beating the teams in your own division when you want to win the division.
Yeah, every game from here on out, to win the conference, especially within, the division and going on the road and playing on the mountainside. And there's some teams that have shown how competitive they are in this conference by who they've played and how they've done outside, of playing, the Power Fives and whatnot. And so this is a really good conference, and it's hard to go on the road and play. That's part of college football. We got a humongous challenge in front of us, but the way the guys responded today and the way they came back, they understand some things. We understand some things as coaches, and we're ready to grow forward and move together and have a great week. Put our best foot forward.
Appreciate it.
Jay, go ahead.
Andy, I know this is kind of another reflecting question or whatever, but that whistle on the forced fumble by Riley and JL picked it up. I know each week that you guys can submit certain plays and receive maybe some type of explanation. Have you received any further explanation on how that happened? And is it your understanding that officials are supposed to let that play out? I'll take anything on that one.
Yeah, and I'm limited to what I can say on these matters, of course, but yeah. We had plenty of opportunities, Jay, to win that game on what we could control, but it is my understanding that we're supposed to play ball. So it didn't happen that way. Again, there's plenty of things that we could control that we should have been able to control to handle that game. And that's another lesson learned. Don't put it in anybody else's hands but our own. And with our own hands, let's take care of business. And that's a lesson we learned right there. We'll submit it, and here in a couple of days, we'll get information back from the league on what happened with that.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Jay.
Mike Prater, last question to you.
Andy, what about Hank Bachmeier? How did he grade out? What's his role in all the good things and all the bad things that are going on with this offense right now?
Yeah, obviously, as being the quarterback, he's at the brunt of the good, and the things that we got to improve on. So there are areas that Hank, as well as us positioning Hank and giving Hank information throughout the game as to where we can help Hank be more consistent. Hank has shown the growth in terms of being able to operate and keep us on schedule. We did get hit too many times last week, some of that being, on the whole offense together, whether that's guys running the right routes, whether that's Hank staying on time within the progression. Obviously the O-line being able to protect them. It's a team game. So with that, Hank is always going to be at the front of what's good and what we need to improve on. But, just being able to keep us on schedule, especially when the defense has some guys up front that are capable of creating negative yardage plays within the pass game. And just we can do a much better job through the course of the game, making sure that we're communicating effectively with Hank on what is the defense giving us, and this is we're going to attack next. And we've got to do a better job of staying out in front once we analyze what the defense plan is throughout the course of the game. And we'll do that to make sure that not only with Hank, but with all the quarterbacks and the guys on the sideline there in the offense, that they have an understanding of what we're getting from the defense.
Thank you.
Andy, appreciate the time. Best of luck to Logan.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks, Andy.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Hey, Coach, thanks for joining. Ron, what questions you want? What questions do we have for you? We'll put you on the spotlight since we don't have a coach right now.
Fire away, I guess.
49ers are 2-0. You're happy. Yeah. There you go.
One way to keep Tim Plow from having to answer to the media, Craig.
Well, he didn't want to talk Cardinals with you and Padres, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea. I thought it was just me. And then Sarah said it was her too. And I was like, I have no idea. Joe's the host, not me. So
oh.
I wonder if they're having issues because they're over in football, obviously. So I don't know if there's issues.
The Cardinals conversation, then just kick me out. I'm good.
Well, BJ's representing because they're winning, you know. The day the Cardinal season's over, he wears his Rams hat. So
I will never wear a Rams hat. That will never happen.
Whatever.
The expansion team we're going to get, I'll start repping them in a few years.
I feel like you've worn Rams before, though.
Not once they left town.
All right. Wow. All right. St. Louis Blues jacket then or something. I mean, whatever. Something.
There you go. In fairness, this is the first cold day we've had, or cold morning we've had in a while, so a sweatshirt was needed.
All right. He looks like he's coming back.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, technical difficulties.
Did that drop off?
Yeah.
We all got booted out, so we're back.
Okay, press conference over. I got Tim right here. I'm sorry, everybody. That was on me. Oh, shit.
I just figured you guys didn't want to talk to me. I'm sure there's nothing you guys want to talk about. I'm sure you have zero questions to ask me.
We're trying to save you from BJ, Tim. So
yeah, I figured.
Recording in progress.
All right, let's go. Ron, BJ, Jay for Tim.
Tim, how's it going today?
What's up, Ron?
So, Tim, again, the third quarter kind of came back to bite you guys again this week. I mean, just talking about in-game adjustments, first of all, as a coach, how long does it take to kind of get that down and understand the importance of making those in-game adjustments?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a trend there after 3 games. And we're not going to run from that. The numbers are what they are. They're not good. So I think when you look at the adjustments, I think the UCF game and this recent game are the ones you can focus on the most. And I think both games can look very similar, but I would say they're very drastically different in how those issues came apart, in the sense that the UCF game, we did kind of go away from our plan like we had talked about, and that got us in trouble. Where this game, we kind of stayed with what was working, but there was just a lack of execution there. And I think that lack of execution comes from the communication from the staff to the players, and it's always going to start with us, and it's going to start with me, and that's where the buck stops. So I just got to do a better job of communicating with our staff and our players and what we need to get done in the third quarter, and just got to get off to the same start and have the same mindset and the urgency that we've had in the first half, where we've started off, I think, every game pretty well. We just got to find that consistency for 4 quarters so we can figure out a way to pull that one out.
And looking at Hank, he had pretty good numbers. He had the late pick. How would you grade his performance?
Yeah, I thought he played really well. It's just, the interception, that's a tough one. I think, the third quarter was an interesting situation, because I think we didn't get out there till, 7 minutes maybe left in the quarter. So you are sitting around for a while, and then all of a sudden you have 1 3 and out, and quarter's almost over, so I think there was definitely some anxiety coming in there from everyone, like, oh shoot, we got to get going. And in that particular play that we had, you guys had probably seen, we sprinted out the first play of the game. I think we sprinted out the 20th play of the game. And so we were trying to set up the sprint out and throw back. And he probably just wanted to make a play so bad, he just forced it a little bit. And that's going to happen to the best of us. But, we took some sacks I thought that we didn't need to take, probably more than we had the first 2 games. But other than that, he was very accurate again, made some big time audibles at the line of scrimmage, got us into some good plays, made some tough, he took a lot of hits. I thought he played pretty well.
You mentioned that he never really ran an RPO offense before this year. Especially for a guy that spent his high school career in a wide open spread attack. How much of a learning curve is there?
It's a big one. I think the whole offense, there's a learning curve there. And I know people would love to see that end in victories, and no one want to see that more than us. And by no means is that an excuse, but every single game, those guys are going to learn a lot about what we're trying to do offensively, and our staff's still learning a lot about what we're trying to do there because it is new. And there's some bumps there along that road, but we're going to climb that mountain together. I think the adversity that we're facing right now is going to make us a better team, a stronger unit going forward, and hopefully that leads to more victories.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Ron.
How we doing, Tim?
Oh God. Get up. I thought you were gonna have a broom I thought you were gonna have a broom in your hand.
I got one around here somewhere.
Yeah.
What with the running game, how I know I ask about it every week, but I guess you look at the guys you have as running backs and you look at the line that you have, 2 all-league guys. I mean, how surprised are you that it hasn't been as good, nearly as good as you would have hoped it would be?
Yeah, it's probably definitely disappointing. Wish I had a lot of answers for you guys on that other than it's just, us being consistent. I did think we got off to a good start there. I think at halftime we probably had, if you take away the sack, I think we had 70 yards rushing, in the first half. And so we were off to a better start. And I thought we were mixing it up really well and getting some good runs. And we just lack the consistency right now to continue to get enough explosive runs and enough consistency to get positive runs. And it falls on all of us. But again, that I'll be the first one to always tell you guys, we have a tough game. Don't look anywhere past me. I got to be better. I got to do a better job getting our guys ready to roll. And I do think it's going to come. I'm a believer in it. Hopefully everyone's not jumping off the ship. I do believe that running game is going to come. We have talent, like you said. I believe in the guys and what we're doing. I believe in the staff. We just got to stick with it. It's going to come. I know it's going to burst.
Where is CT Thomas and why has he not been a bigger part of this offense?
I think there's a lot of guys on the offense that we want to get the ball to. I'm the first guy at the end of every game to look down there and see who had as many catches because I'd love everyone to touch the ball a couple times. And we had a couple things called in the game that were going to CT, and one of them was an RPO that the DN got loose on and kind of crushed Hank in the first drive. And then we had an empty play that was going to him. Where there was some miscommunication on a route. And I just think it's been one of those things where it just hasn't all come together yet for him. It's definitely not by design that he's not getting the ball. It's something we're working on, finding different packages to get him involved because we do care a lot about him and he is a good player and we need to find ways. But we got a lot of good players, BJ. I think that's the hard part is, man, the first 2 games, Davis Cutter didn't have 1 catch. Right. And then he gets a couple catches this game. Billy Bowens finally got a couple catches. Latrell Capel's got a catch in this game. I mean, we got a lot of talented guys. I know someone asked a question about the tight ends last week. We're trying to get them the ball. There's a lot of dudes we're trying to get the ball to. And it's not by design if a guy doesn't get the ball. Hopefully, if everyone does their job correctly, the ball will find you. The football gods will reward you for the effort that you put in.
Final one for me. I wanted to ask about Cutter. Obviously, he gets out there and has the first start and scores a touchdown and could have had another one he was open on. How quickly is he moving up the depth chart?
He's always been a guy that we have a lot of faith in. He is a huge contributor on special teams. I'm not sure if everyone knows that, but he's a captain of one of the special teams units and is heavily – when he caught that touchdown, everyone was trying to celebrate with him, and he was like pushing everybody on the way so he could go get on the kickoff team. So I think we've always known about his ability and his football mind, his acumen. He can play all 3 positions. And again, the first 2 games he was in there, the ball just didn't find him. But with Steph being down, we knew he might get a couple more shots. So we were thrilled to see him get his touchdown. I'm sure he'll get many more. He's a great player and a really good kid.
Appreciate it, Tim. Thanks.
Thanks, BJ.
Tim, we're to talk about the running game. We've obviously saw, we can go back and we can look at the numbers that your running backs put up at UC Davis and they were impressive. But what is your vision of what your running back can contribute to this offense? Like, is there a metric or something that we can judge, a successful day by your running back off of, or a vision?
Yeah, I think if you look at the previous years, the guys we had normally caught the ball quite a bit. I don't know exactly, but I think the last year there, our running back caught 54 passes or something like that. They're going to catch the ball quite a bit. And then, we have had a guy at 1,000 or right around 1,000 every year and usually close to, 2,500, 3,000 yards, somewhere around there too, as a unit. And And it just hasn't got off to a good start, Jay. And we know that we're not going to run from it. It's not consistent enough. I understand the legacy here of running the football and having 1,000-yard tailbacks. And man, no one gets that more than me, and no one wants it more than me. And we're looking for ways to help our guys up front be successful. We're looking for ways for it to be consistent. And, we're just going to keep working on it. It's going to start with us as a coaching staff, making sure we're consistent with our approach. And again, I thought we got off to a better start this game. And just, I think the lack of opportunities plus our lack of stability there in the third quarter made us get to the fourth quarter where it was like, man, we gotta kind of roll now. So maybe there's going to be less running going. So some of it was a little bit of that, but no one wants it to work more than me, Jay. We're going to work really hard to get it going for sure.
You brought up the fact that, you didn't possess the ball until over midway through the third quarter, and then you go 3 and out and you're done. I mean, there was about 20 game minutes where I think you ran, I can't remember if it was 5 or 8 plays, but somewhere in that range of game minutes. Does that force you to call, like when you finally do get on the field, to call a game different? Because at that point in time, a first down, it almost seems as critical as a touchdown.
I think that you don't call the game differently, but what happens naturally is tension and anxiety mounts, right? It's like, how many more opportunities are we going to get here? We had the fumble going in right before the half, which was just a momentum drain. It sucked the life kind of out of us a little bit. And then that was our last play for however many time that was, 2 minutes left in the first half to 7 minutes in the third quarter. So it was a long time to sit and think about that fumble and think about, what we had done as an offense. And you have that first 3 and out, and then it's like you have another drive where I think we dropped a pass, and so it just kind of, the anxiety starts to mount. It's like, oh shoot, we got to get going, and then we got off to a good start the next 2 drives, kind of in our own end, and had something snag us along the way. So I know I didn't call the game any differently. I'm very confident in saying that in the third and fourth quarter versus what we did in the first half. I just think there was, again, just some anxiety, communication that we can do a better job of as an offensive staff, relating to our players and making sure they feel confident, because they should feel confident, because we've shown we can move the ball on anybody.
I know that the last one for me, and I know that you probably have to answer this one somewhat delicately, but 3 games in, like, what do you feel like you do well? Is there something that you feel like this can get us jump started or anything like that?
Yeah, I think we're pretty consistent in how we throw the football. I mean, I think we're, completing close to 70% of our passes, and probably close to 300 yards a game, I would imagine, or 270 plus or something like that. But I think we throw the football as well as anyone if we really wanted to get that going. But I think we want to be a balanced offense, and so we got to find a way to do it where we're not throwing the ball 50, 60 times, because that's not going to be championship football. We all know that. And so I do think we throw the football well. I do think when we're in tempo and we get going, I think we're as good as anybody. Right now, our issues are starting the drives, getting that first down. And once we get that first down, usually we get rolling and we're pretty successful. And then, like we've said, we got to be consistent in that third quarter. The numbers bear out. The third quarter's been awful, and we're not going to shy away from that. We got to get that fixed. We will get it fixed. I think the guys are all in it together, and we're going to do it as a unit. So I'm looking forward to this week and this challenge.
281 through the air. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Thanks, Jake. Thanks for the number too. Dang it. I was close.
Go ball game, Will and Prater.
Coach, I saw that you ran the ball 24 times, backs and receivers. Kalani got 12 of those, so half of the touches. Was that by design? And I've heard running backs say, they want to get a feel for it, especially coming back from an injury. Just want to get those reps. Was that enough in hindsight, 12?
I think we would like George to touch the ball more than that for sure, John, without question. I do think that there were times in the game where, again, when you haven't played for a while, where, he got a little winded. And so we're in the middle of those drives and he gets subbed out just because he's gassed. And so we get another guy in and they end up getting the carry just because he can't go 5, 6, 7, 8 plays and do a drive that way. But he's an important guy. We definitely need to get him the ball more touches. I think he did catch a couple passes, which was good in the flat there. But yeah, we'd like to get those touches closer to 20 total if we could for him in a full game. And that's definitely a focus going forward, is how important he is to our offense and getting him started. And again, I think some of the lack of touches, John, just probably goes back to the fact that we only ran 5 plays, whatever it was, in the third quarter. I think in the first half we ran, again, maybe I need to ask Jay, but I think we ran 45 plays or something in the first half. And then we only run 5 in the third quarter. That's a huge difference. I mean, that's a huge difference of plays and opportunities that we miss out because of our 2, 3 and outs. And we just need to make sure we stay on the field longer so we have more plays so that we can give guys more opportunities.
That's it for me. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, John.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tim, you look at Utah State's defense. What stands out to you?
Sorry, Will, you broke up. Are you saying what stands out about the Utah State defense?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
no problem. Yep. Yeah, they're an aggressive group for sure. Very talented in the front, a lot of speed. Probably in all 3 levels, one of the faster defenses we've seen on film, and they're playing with a lot of confidence. Got a couple really talented players, so they're gonna pose a tough situation for sure.
Their linebacker, number 3, Justin Rice. Anything stand out to you about him?
Great player. I mean, really talented guy. Does kind of everything you want the linebacker to do. He's a great blitzer. He's great in the run game. I think he's got a couple interceptions. Really confident guy. Definitely a standout player for them for sure.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, Will.
Hey, Tim, between you and Andy, you guys have both mentioned the word consistent several times today. And you're talking about things that we know what you're talking about. But if you're putting together a priority list, where do you need to be more consistent? Just 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe it's not that clean, but specifically, what part of this football team do you need to be more consistent?
Well, I think you always look at 3 areas, Mike, on whether it's offense, defense, special teams. And the first part is the pre-snap, right? Like, can we be more consistent in getting aligned quickly into our tempo so that teams can't get set defensively? Because that's a big part of what we're trying to achieve offensively, is beat them to the line of scrimmage so that they're not ready, and then we snap the football. The second part is just our execution, right? Like, offensive football is execution assignment football, right? We need 11 guys to execute their assignment correctly. And I mean, if we could sit down and go through the game play by play and we could talk through it, you would see, like, you'll run a play in the first quarter, execute it properly. You'll run the same exact play in the third quarter and not execute it properly, right? And so where is that coming from? That's what we're going to solve, and we will solve it, Mike, and get that fixed, and that'll help us be more consistent in our execution. And then the last part is just how we finish plays, right? How we finish that rep and get on to the next rep, whether that's the tempo that we get the ball to the ref, or how we get to the line of scrimmage on the next play, or how we finish our block and how we finish our run with ball security. I just think those 3 levels, if we can get those more consistent, I think we'll see not only success in the first half like we've had, but we'll see success through the entirety of the game, which is what we're after.
Ask Andy about the physicality of the offensive line. And from my perspective, it doesn't look like it's there. Maybe inconsistent when it comes to pass protection, because there seems like pass protection has been pretty solid at times. The physical, dominating run blocking. Do you feel like it's there? And if it's not there, how do you coach that? How do you get better at being physical?
Well, I do think it's there, Mike, in glimpses. Like, I do think it's there in separate times. And if you go through the film again and see it, you'll see some great clips in that game of we had a run where OJ and Garrett just double teamed a guy in an inside zone down near the end zone, and Andrew Van Buren had like a 6-yard run. And, we had another one on the backside where Ben Dooley and Stets were getting after a guy and getting some serious movement. That's a good defense too. I mean, they stop pretty much everyone they go against, and those guys are moving them. But when you're not doing it consistently, Mike, it goes back to their fundamentals and technique more than anything. Like, how do you become physical? Well, number one, you got to be confident. And to be confident, you have to develop your fundamentals and techniques that you feel confident every play that you can be physical. It's not just how strong you are, how much you push a guy off the ball. It's the technique and fundamental in which you approach it. And so if we're inconsistent in our movement up front, it falls back to our fundamentals and techniques. And that comes back to our confidence and our guys having good eyes and getting off the ball the right way. And again, I think there are some all league guys up front there, like we've mentioned. There are some guys that have played a lot of ball. And again, it might come back to just they want to do it so bad, Mike, that they want to do it so well. And so many people talk about the run game and how we got to get it going that probably builds some anxiety there. Like, man, we got to get this rocking. We got to get this hitting. And maybe they're trying a little too hard. There could be a little bit of that too. It's there though. Like, we have the ability to do it. We have the people to do it. It starts with me. I gotta make sure we're putting the guys in the right place to be consistent so that our guys can be confident and we can run the ball consistently for an entirety of a game. And we will do that, Mike. We'll get it figured out.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Tim, we appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Have a great week. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Recording stopped.
Hey, we'll just keep the same order, guys. So Ron, BJJ, as soon as Spencer sits down.
What's up, guys?
Recording in progress.
Hey, Spencer.
What's up, Spence?
Go ahead, Ron.
So, Spence, you've been on staff for several Utah State games now. There's a new coaching staff in place over there. They've also added 14 transfers this year. As you look at them on film, schematically and physically, do they look any different than they have in past years?
They have, yeah. I mean, they're very explosive on offense. They're putting up tons of points, tons of yards. Hats off to that staff. They're undefeated. They've, I believe, number 13, their receiver right now is the number one receiver in the country. So, like I said, they've got the weapons. They understand the schemes they're trying to do. They're going to try and go extremely fast. They're going to use tempo, and they've got weapons they're going to create space for them throughout the game. So, I think it's a great offense, and we're excited for the challenge.
And obviously, struggles against stopping the run kind of crept up again this past weekend. As you look at this game and compare it to the season opener, are there any similarities there in why you guys struggled?
Yeah, I mean, in relation to the game, like I said, first and foremost, it starts with me and making sure our guys are prepared and put them in the right situations to execute. And just like anything, when you play good teams and you play in the games that we want to be playing in here at Boise State, we need to, the margin for error is zero. So even on the long run, it's a little thing here, and then all of a sudden it's out with those type of tailbacks we're playing. And so just making sure our guys are prepared and ready for those things going forward is going to be huge. And we're going to continue to grow our team, grow up front. And it's not just up front. It's for the linebackers. It's the secondary. Everybody needs to grow and take a step in that because we talked, last week too, Ron, that stopping the run, as our first and foremost standard for defense is you have to do that. And so we obviously know we have a lot to grow in, and we're excited to go into the how of it and how we can get that fixed and put a better performance up this coming Saturday.
And last one for me. I know I've asked you a lot about Scott Matlock over the last few months or whatever, but he just looks so improved as a pass rusher this year. Is that a credit to his physical transformation, or has that been a focus of his in the offseason?
Yeah, it's been a huge focus of his, and Coach Miley and Coach Avalos working with him, done a great job. Just him understanding, angles, target points, first step, where to place his hand, and it's been cool to see him grow in that. And obviously, just like anything, the more athletic you are, the faster you can get off the rock and create speed in the old lineman's feet. I mean, especially for a big dude like him, I mean, you're going to get production. It's cool to see him get that. And like I said about Scott, I'm excited to see him continue to take steps to grow in all phases of his game.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Ron.
Hey, Spencer.
What's up, Beach?
Hey, with he was asking about stopping the run. I mean, the D line came in. I don't know if hype's the right word, but there was a lot of people praising the D line, how deep they were and your linebackers and stuff. And I think at least to fans, media, whatever, it's been pretty surprising the struggles against the run. What for you? Did you think 3 games in we wouldn't be still asking you about this?
Yeah, first to tell you guys it's frustrating, and it's definitely not the standard with which we want to play. And it's something that we are excited to get fixed. Obviously, giving up the yards we have is not something we're proud of, but we do have the answers. I believe we not only have the players, we have the coaches to get it done. But it's definitely, to answer your question, BJ, something going into the season that didn't want to have happen. It has. And now as a coach and as a leader, looking at the how of how we can get it fixed, from meetings to practice to play calls, how we can put our guys in better situations and how we can train them to where we're not giving up the yards we are, because we can't, especially going where we want this team to go.
How much do you lean on, Frank and Stacy? And I know it's a lot of new players, as Ron was saying, and a new staff over there, but just their experience and knowing some of the personnel from Utah State, how much do you lean on those guys this week?
Yeah, it's been awesome to talk about, because they obviously have a firsthand look from being over there to see, what is this offensive lineman good at? What is this tailback good at? Obviously, there's a lot of transfers, so there are a lot of new faces on that roster from the guys they brought in. But the guys that have been there, it's been great to be able to talk to Frank and talk to Stacy about, who are these guys? What are maybe some things that they might struggle with, and kind of get their 2 cents on it. But at the end of the day, just like any team, we're gonna attack the process the same way we do and find ways to do it better. And first and foremost starts with stopping the run, and it's an explosive offense, and how we deal with the tempo and the speed and the spacing is going to be huge for us this week. But I know, from me to our players, we're excited for the challenge, and we're frustrated about this past Saturday. But at the end of the day, it's how you can get it fixed and learn from it and grow and continue to put a better product on the field.
Andy was telling us a little earlier just about how wide their splits are, and he said the receivers are almost on the sidelines. And that does is kind of open up the QB run game and some of the things on the inside. What kind of challenge does their offense present?
Yeah, first and foremost, the tempo. They're trying to go as fast as they can. They're trying, regardless. It's not just earn first down. They're trying to go as fast as humanly possible. And then they're using the entire width of the field. Every 53 and a third, they're trying to use it. And to Coach Avalos's point, they're putting receivers almost, a yard from the sideline. So they're creating this space that completely widens your defense. And you can see throughout the first 3 games of their season, they're creating explosive plays because they're making sure you're not layered on defense. So if someone misses a tackle, there's no one there to make them right because of the space. And so they do a good job creating space, and they do a good job with the tempo, making it tough to create these alignments for the defense. And they have really good complement plays from the run game to the pass game and the things they have off it. So like I said, hats off to their offensive coaches. And I know the head coach is very involved with the offense, and I think they do a hell of a job.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, BJ.
Let's go with Spencer.
What's up, Jay?
Hey, I know that the first half was a little bit of a struggle against the run, but the second half, 78 yards on 35 carries. I mean, I'm sure you take that any day of the week. What were you able to correct in the second half? And is that the performance that you can duplicate versus the first half performance?
Yeah, I'm very, obviously not glad about how the game ended, but I am proud of our players that they stayed in the fight and how they responded in the second half. I think from a coaching staff to Coach Avalos to the rest of our assistants, creating a plan from halftime into some little tweaks that we can have in the second half that can help us, especially once we knew kind of what Oklahoma State was going to do. And it was cool to see our players go out and execute it. Was the second half perfect? No. There's some things that we still have a lot to grow in and excited to see, but it's really good for our players and coaches to see, the second half, like that's us operating the way we believe we can. And being able to emulate that, for all 4 quarters, not just for quarter 3 and quarter 4, is going to be huge for us going forward, because you look at the first half, you give the explosive run, and then, there's 4 or 5 minutes left in the first half, and we've still given up 7 points. And then you give them an explosive play, we get a pass interference call, and we just don't handle it well. And like I said, it starts with me and making sure our guys are in better situations and trained for those moments so that we can respond and finish the first half in the right way. And then obviously proud of how our guys played in the second half. Not perfect, but definitely can see that our stuff it works. We have the right players to get it done. We just got to be more consistent in how we train to get there.
It feels like maybe your most consistent player. One of your most consistent is JL. Have you had a guy like him before that consistently hits as hard as he do? I mean, he had the one where he got the receiver that came back around and flipped him, but he had one earlier in the game where went through a guy and forced a break up, and then the other reverse where he tracks the guy down. I mean, how good has he been? And have you had a guy? What is it like to have a guy that is hits as hard as he does back there?
Well, it's awesome. I think it does, obviously, especially at the safety position, they got to make everybody right in front of them, because if they're wrong, it's going to be gone, and having that understanding, and excited to see JL continue to take steps in how he preps, because he's got all the ability. He's a great kid. And it's cool to see him continue to grow and how he attacks, practice from Monday all the way to Friday to be able to play in these games. And I'm excited to see him continue to take steps this week because he's growing in that. And I think he can look at Kakala Kaneo. We've talked about this before and see kind of how he does it. But he has a skill set that is special. And I'm excited that I really believe his best football is in front of him if he continues to grow and understand what it takes to prep and be able to play in these games because he's done a lot of good things on the field and it's exciting to see. But in my conversation with him is always like, man, I truly believe that he can even be way better because he is long, rangy, explosive, violent, instinctual, and he has that. And it's cool. I'm excited just to see his growth if he continues to prep and understand that, he's done some good things, but that's where it comes back to our mentality, Jay, which we talked about a lot, is it's that humble and hungry, man. People are patting you on the back. Just keep focused on what you can do to grow, and I think the sky's the limit for him.
And one more for me on the other end of that. You guys were pretty good against the pass, obviously, the other day. But Oklahoma State hit the one they needed, and Markell seems like he's had a great year. He had 8 tackles in the game the other day. But, Will was pointing out to me he looked pretty distraught after allowing that catch. So how do you approach that with him where he plays so well and making sure, one play doesn't swing things for him?
No, 100%. And on defense, more in those situations and especially at the corner position, it's going to come down to one-on-ones. I mean, that's it. Regardless what you can do, it's going to come down to that. And to your point, Jay, I think he's done an awesome job this season. It's cool seeing him step into that role because he has had a great 3 games. And is it perfect? No, but how he's trained to get to that point's been awesome. And, my conversation with him, just be honest, in the locker room, he was, heartbroken because of that play. But I told him again, I was like, if you were to tell me at the end of the game that it was going to be Markell Reed versus their receiver, I'll take it still every single time. And I told him that, and that doesn't waver my confidence. I love that kid. I love him deeply and excited to see him continue to grow. And obviously there's, different techniques and things we can work to play that. He didn't win that 1 rep, but I'm confident that when it comes down to it again, and we will be in that situation again at some point, he's going to win it. And that's what I told him because I really do believe that. He stayed in the fight all game long, and he does not back down from whoever he's guarding, and he'll go guard their best guy. And I take that matchup all day, any day. Thanks, Jeff.
John, Will, and Mike.
Yeah, just one for me, Coach. What clicked with JL? Like, I've noticed it not just in his personality on the field, but also off the field. His interviews are better than they were last year. Is there anything specifically, maybe just natural growth? But yeah, to me, he's been the best guy on this team. What clicked?
No, it's just been cool to see him grow. Like when we talked about last week, over Christmas, didn't even go home because he was frustrated how the season ended and stayed here to grind and grow and continue to hone his craft because I think he knows how good he can be if he continues to grow. And it's cool to see him start to see glimpses of that. And I think he's just starting to grow up in that and understand that who he can be. And I think little by little, when he starts to see glimpses, then you start to really catch fire in regards to, okay, if I continually grow in my habits on the field and off of them, the sky's the limit for that young man. And I know our team is way better with him. And I'm just my biggest thing for him with all our players is just, if you want to continue to grow and be the player that I know you can be and make sure these first 3 games are not your best games, let's continue to be humble and hungry because he has all the talent in the world, and I'm excited to see him grow. But you're right, John. He's been doing some really good things. I'm just excited to see him continue to take those steps.
Hey, Spence, what kind of lift did Riley give you guys in that second half?
Well, it was awesome to get Riley back. He's such a seasoned vet, and he's got, so many reps under his belt. I was really proud of Brandon Hawkins stepping in and playing for Riley when he was out that first half. But, Riley's one of our leaders on defense, and I think he did a great job in the first half, leading on the sideline. But there is something when a player that's played so much football like Riley gets back in the game and can make some things happen just with the amount of reps he's had. So it was great to get him back there in the second half. But I am proud of how the rest of our players stepped up in his absence, just like we did with Kakala the week prior. But was excited to obviously get him back, and he did some good things. Obviously, the fumble at the end of the game was big, and your players make plays.
Coach, wanted to talk to you about power backs.
The receiver number 13, Tompkins, in yards.
Say it one more time. Oh.
I wasn't sure if Will was done, I guess.
No, you're good, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, let's talk a little bit about you faced a couple of really good power backs so far this year, the Central Florida kid and then the Warren kid on Saturday night. Your assessment of how you've handled power backs, and talk to me about the difference of how defenses approach a power back as opposed to the shifty athletic scat back. It's got to be different mentality. It's got to be different physically wise. How do you guys handle that? And how have you handled those two power backs so far this year?
Yeah, UCF and obviously this past weekend, we gave up way too many rush yards. So I'd sit here and say we haven't handled it well. The thing that we're going to continue to grow in is understand, especially the power backs we've seen at UCF and Oklahoma State. Not only are they strong and physical at the point of attack, but if you're wrong, they could also take it the distance, And so just the biggest thing for our guys, and we hit it last week, we're going to continue to hit it to grow in that habit, is you got to take their motors from them. You got to strike them right through the thigh boards and take their legs, because if you're too high, which happened a couple times, they're going to run right through you like you're not even there. And so continue to lower our guys' target zone to make sure we're trying to take their motors out, take them through the legs and get them down, because we're playing these 225 plus backs that not only can make you miss, will run you over. And if you're wrong, it's out, as we obviously saw this weekend.
Coach, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Spencer, appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for everything.
Thanks, Spencer.
Recording stopped.